Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third annual California College Affordability Summit. My name is Matthew Elder from Riverside County Office of Education. I will be the moderator today, as well as presenting with our great panelists members, and I will be the moderator tech for this breakout session. I'm here to provide virtual support to both you and the presenters during the presentation. All attendees have been muted, so we ask that you put your questions in the chat, and at the end of the presentation, if time allows, you can also raise your hand on the icon and we'll be happy to unmute you to ask your question. Should you have any questions or need assistance with the Zoom interface, you can use the chat icon at the bottom of the toolbar of your screen, search for my name, and send me a direct private message to me. I will do my best to provide assistance to resolve your concern. It is my pleasure to now introduce your presenters for this session. This session, we are presenting on supporting California students and schools through the financial aid process. And so we have Sonia Ramos from San Jose Cal Soap and Linda Dowdy from San Diego Cal Soap. And my name is Matt Fielder from Riverside County Cal Soap. We will do our own introductions once we start the slides. So thank you very much for joining our presentation. Let me share the screen so you can see what we are presenting on, and we will get started. All right, like I previously said, we are supporting California students and schools through the financial aid process. We'd like to do introductions. Sonia, if you'd like to introduce Linda.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Matt, for doing double, triple duty here. And please let us know if we can help in any way. Good morning again. My name is Sonia Ramos, and I serve as the director for the San Jose Cal Soap Consortia with the UC Santa Cruz Educational Partnership Center, and we support schools and districts in the Eastside Union High School District in San Jose. And I'll hand it over to Linda.
Good morning. My name is Linda Dowdy, and I'm director of Unica Corrections, San Diego and Imperial Counties Cal Soap. I've got two major counties that are to the far south. I've been the director of this particular Cal Soap for the past 27 years, so I've been around the block. We serve 39 high schools within that region. We also serve approximately 8,000 students. And for us, the crux of the matter seems to be financial aid. How do we, as two counties, increase the number of students that are going to complete and fill the FAFSA or the California Dream Act? I want to thank the Student Aid Commission and also my other co-presenters for today.
All right, and once again, my name is Matthew Elder. I'm the director of the Riverside County Cal Soap. We are housed at the Riverside County Office of Education. We serve 7 districts in the Riverside County area. We serve Hemet Unified, Marina Valley Unified, Marietta Valley Unified, Paris Union High School District, Temecula Valley Unified, San Jacinto Unified, and Valverde Unified. So we service over 30 schools. And like our other presenters we have with our Cal Soap program, we service our first generation low income FOSS youth and students that need that support for their post-secondary plans. So please, during our presentations, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We have split up our presentation into different sections for each presenter. And so let's get started. Sonia.
All right, thank you again, Matt. I will start off by sharing just a little bit of background about Cal Soap. So if any of you are not familiar with the Cal Soap Consortia programs, we are the California Student Opportunity and Access Program, not a soap. We get that little joke every time we've introduced ourselves, but California Student Opportunity and Access Program is the acronym. We are a consortia model program, which makes us very unique in the work that we do. We've been established since 1978 by the state legislature. And our focus is familiar to probably many of you, increasing the availability of information of our students around the existence of post-secondary education. as well as the total cost of attending post-secondary educational institutions and financing options, including grants, scholarships, student loans, and work opportunities, as well as increasing the number of students that are submitting and completing their financial aid applications, the FAFSA and CATA applications, and making sure that we're able to assist students in their financial aid verification process and throughout. So our consortia model programs have a wide reach. We are an intersegmental consortia, which serves approximately about 126 public school districts, ranging from the largest urban districts to small rural districts and high schools. We have representatives supporting our schools from 9 of the 10 UC campuses, 17 of the 23 CSU campuses, 40 of the state's 113 community colleges, and 16 of the 17 independent colleges and universities, as well as 53 community-based organizations. So that just gives you just an understanding of the reach of CalSOAP and how we involve stakeholders from all different segments. So to start off our presentation, just to give you a snapshot, we'll be covering the topics really about why financial aid completion is so important. You've been hearing that throughout, and this is exactly what this summit is about. We want to share with you some of the impacts and lessons learned throughout this last few years in the work that we do with our school partners and districts and communities. Also share with you how to focus on creating school systems that really help increase your overall financial aid completion rates in your own regions, the promising practices and new strategies that we've learned from and have adapted in some of our regions, and the importance of involving community stakeholders and how you can do that. And as Matt mentioned, we will leave time for Q&A as well. So as you've heard throughout the summit, completion of financial aid applications is one of the best predictors for whether a student will enroll in post-secondary. So we want to make sure that that is, as you all know, this is really why we're doing this work and why the summit is focused on this effort. 84% of students who complete the FAFSA are more likely to immediately enroll in post-secondary. And as Marlene had mentioned in her opening remarks, of the lowest socioeconomic students in our state, FAFSA completion is associated with a 127% increase in immediate college enrollment. And just to give you an understanding, these numbers come from the National College Attainment Network, NCAN, a valuable resource in this effort as well. And so just so you know where these sources are coming from. And of our high school seniors who complete FAFSA by the graduation day, which for NCAN is June 30th, they are more likely to make a thoughtful and informed decision about where they enroll in high school. In their post-secondary from high school. And with the assistance of you all as college advisors, school counselors, whatever your role is in this effort, we of course are wanting to make sure that students are able to make those thoughtful and informed decisions about where they're going to next. So in the AB 469 legislation, some of these are the highlights of the 3 points that were highlighted in the bill as key factors impacting our financial aid application completion rates. The legislation recognizes that more can be done to ensure all students understand how to access financial aid and the benefits of financial aid. And ultimately, many of us understand these barriers based on our own personal experiences as a first-gen student ourselves, or working with our students daily. And financial aid really has transformed our own lives and many of the lives of our families and communities, and really the significant influence that the trajectory of future generation for our students and families as a result of financial aid can have is really important for us to keep in mind. And as just a visual graphic of the students, the estimated 53% of students from the class of 2021 who completed the FAFSA by June 30th, the amount of dollars that were left on the table, as you've all continued to hear, is definitely the reason why this legislation was created. And we want to chip away at that and make those resources readily available to all students. This graphic really highlights the importance of our efforts in addressing the numbers of students, especially our low-income students who are applying or not applying and submitting their financial aid applications. And we know many of these reasons, as you see here, are related to students not understanding that financial aid is available, not understanding that the or being adverse to debt itself, not having a plan or planning for college in mind, and believing that these forms are too complicated, which we know that many times these financial aid application forms can be overwhelming and confusing, and as well as the importance of building trust and trusting this process for students and families is one of the areas that we want to make sure that we're addressing. So before I move over to sharing with you the impacts and lessons learned in this process, I do want to pose a question to all of you in what aspects of financial aid completion are important for you or your school or community, and just give you a few minutes to put that in the chat. Given where we are today and what we're focused on, the importance of financial aid completion, if you can share what aspects of this process, of these efforts, are important for you and your school and community. Any?
So please type it. This is the participation part. Please type anything in the chat. Aspects that you find it could be challenging or rewarding, or anything that you find in your organization or region that you have found has been a huge help in this course. Least amount of debt possible. Yes. Changing the culture of kids and families that aren't interested in college. Great comments. Anybody else?
Excellent. Thank you for sharing those comments, Matt. And so moving on in looking at the impacts to some of our regional efforts that we've experienced over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, especially in these last couple of years, we know that and want to acknowledge that there are impacts that and factors that we want to take into consideration when we're looking at our overall approach to financial aid completion. COVID, Zoom fatigue, loss of college going mindset, and having students who have never set foot on campuses and haven't been able to benefit from that college going culture that is traditionally a part of the day-to-day school curriculum. We know that staff resignations and lengthy vacancies, whether it's a counselor, school principal, teachers, those have all been impacts to how we've been able to work with our school partners. Limited opportunities for students to engage and be exposed to all of these college-going culture aspects, and hearing that conversation on a regular basis, that distance learning really limited that ability to have students take part in that day-to-day conversation. And then as well as limited access to students in person. We know that this has been a huge impact even starting in the fall of this year, not knowing whether or not we would be able to engage with students in the classroom or face-to-face in person, we wanted to make sure that this is a factor that we were considering in our own planning. Additionally, we know the inundation of electronic communications for our students and families. This has been an ongoing effort. We've all tried to outreach to our students in many, many ways, whether it's text messaging, phone banking campaigns, emailing campaigns, using social media. We know students and families are inundated with these electronic communications, and it can be overwhelming. Another factor that we had to take into consideration in reaching out to students and families around financial aid is really the accuracy of their contact information. So our student information systems that are accessed at our schools and districts may not always have the up-to-date information. So tracking that information down, being able to contact students, students and families are very mobile and change numbers occasionally as well. So having that accurate contact information was really important to consider. Another factor that many of you are all very familiar with are the high rates of absenteeism. Not having students present, not being able to connect with them really does limit our ability to get them to where we want them to be. And then learning loss, the schools and counselors and teachers, administrators, we know our schools had to focus a lot on that learning loss when we came back to in-person instruction, as well as attendance and credit recovery, getting students back on track academically, were really high priority factors for our schools. And so making sure that we were able to support schools with the college-going financial aid support was really imperative. And in terms of lessons learned, we know that balancing the contact types is some students are more responsive to contacts via phone, via email, via text, whatever that is. So really looking at a variety of ways of contacting students became part of the considerations we had to make. Allowing hybrid services to remain, not just knowing that we may not always reach students in person, even when we came back to in-person instruction, having the ability to make those virtual sessions still available for students and families. And keeping our district and school leaders committed to our overall efforts is really vital to the success of what we are doing with what we're able to do with our students and helping them to be successful. Pushing into classes was also a point of which we felt like was a strategy that helped us in being able to reach more students. And then, of course, using social media and technology are also still valuable tools that we'll continue to use in the future. And as we all know, starting earlier, the earlier the better, making sure that we're able to get that message out to students early on and families early on about financial aid, whether that's in 9th, 10th, 11th grade. We know that starting early, getting that mindset around financial aid going is really key. Working with our schools to create comprehensive plans to affect change. I know that many of you have heard throughout that these school-wide strategies and really working collaboratively with our school leaders and staff to create these plans and have intentional efforts laid out for how we want to approach our goals. Using data and sharing web grants, which Matt will go into many of these pieces as far as what needs to happen, what should be in place, but we know web grants is the tool that is really one of the most reliable sources of data where we can continuously monitor the progress of our students in completing their financial aid applications. And then senior class financial aid completion workshops. So having those workshops as one of the strategies, pushing into classes as well as making those sessions available after school were really important lessons learned in terms of the benefit of having those contacts with students in that format. And so now I will hand it over to Matt, who will talk more in depth about creating school systems.
All right, thank you, Sonia. I definitely appreciate it. So just want to give some context for the work I've done before I became a CalSOAP director for Riverside County. My two former school sites that I worked at overseeing counseling, we had systems in place, and you might have heard their names with Citrus Hill High School and Orange Vista High School and Valverde Unified. So building the systems at the previous schools that I worked at was huge, and now coming to the county office in CalSOAP, definitely working with 7 districts and over 30 schools, we are supporting one another with creating those school systems. Most schools already have them in place. It's just working together to see what systems are really, really strong, and then what systems are we always trying to improve in with the different areas. So I'm going to kind of give you the roadmap of what we've used just working in our area and region. So definitely as a school site or a counselor or district or a community-based partner, definitely if you want to reach out afterwards, we could definitely talk strategies and things with all 3 presenters of what we do. So here's our creating school system. So here's just a brief outline of what we're going to be discussing. So what are your region, district, and site goals? How do you apply for financial aid? Most people know how, but there are other techniques to use. And then how are you planning with your school system? How is your school system set up? What support staff do you have working with you? What's your team made of? And then your CCGI account. We utilize CCGI account in Riverside County. All of our districts are CCGI account members, and it helps us with tracking data. And so we also look at FSAID schedules. How are the schools getting those students to complete the FSAIDs? Because you know if you start them too early, students will lose their passwords, but you want to make sure they have their information. So it's definitely looking at that. College and career centers are definitely a plus if your school does or does not. If your school does have them, you know the benefit. If you don't, then you're definitely working on other techniques. Web grants, understanding web grants reports and who has access at your school site or district. Promotional, social media and information is definitely important now that we've gone hybrid as we came out of virtual. What does a college season look like on your calendar? And then workshops, are they in-person, virtual? Are you doing after school Saturdays? Incentives, are you incentivizing and making it fun for the students to complete this process and they understand why they're doing it? There are challenges. So we'll talk about the challenges that everybody faces. I like to use the word challenges because I don't make excuses, because working at school sites, you have to figure out the problem and find the solution. And then progress monitoring. How are you tracking your data, internal and externally? And then celebrating. How are you celebrating all the hard work of the students, staff, and people at the school, your CBOs? And then there's the deadline. What's next after the deadline? Because there is some cleanup that has to be done. Some students might have errors or no EFC. So as we go through, definitely I like to make this presentation interactive. And so I'm going to be asking some questions that you can put them in the chat. Definitely we want you to share ideas and best practices, just like I'll be doing here now. So definitely, what are your goals? And so the goals of your region, your district, your site goals. So each comprehensive school, these are just examples. And each comprehensive school site will be above 90% completed for financial aid applications. I know it says rates to submit, but we always say it should be rates to complete because anybody can submit with errors, but you want to make sure that they're completed. And at my previous site, our goal was 100%, but you know that you have certain specific groups like special severely handicapped or life skill students where your true 100 might be 97%. But you're trying to get as high as possible because when your school numbers are up, then that means your students are getting access to the free money. Each 12th grade student will match a financial aid application with a college application or post-secondary. I know everybody's talked about it being a graduation requirement, but the most important thing is what are you matching it to? Why is the student getting this free money and what are they using it towards? And then systems will be improved to help raise alternative education sites completed financial aid applications. How is the comprehensive schools working with the alternative education schools? Because you know once the GPA is uploaded in October at the comprehensive and they move to the alternative ed in January, the comprehensive is the one going to be getting credit when the student completes their application, but the alternative ed site did have to upload their GPA based on the law. And so how are you working and getting that work done early So when they do transfer over, it's already done. Each 9th and 11th grade student will receive financial literacy each school year, building to 12th grade. We know 12th grade is a lot. So how are we building this and intertwining it into our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade curriculum so that our students are understanding goals and setting those parameters before they become a senior in high school? So those are just some examples. How do you apply for financial aid? We all know, and I like to use the term financial aid because with FAFSA, we know some people do the FAFSA, and we have some students that do the California Dream Act. So when you get access to this presentation, any graphic that I like to put in the presentations are a link. So it goes straight to the application. We do all of our applications in Riverside County CalSOAP through CCGI. So California colleges, we're able to track that. With the internal tracking, we can meet with students individually and have a one-on-one direct conversation of what schools did you apply to? And then we look at your student aid report and we can see which school you're gonna make an informed decision and try to choose based on what you qualified for. There's also the help center. So our coaches, we have 35 coaches that are mentors at the different high schools that they are assigned to. And they call the help center, use the chat for FAFSA all the time when they have different questions because we want to give accurate information. And then CSAC contact us if a student has a no AFC. We know that the students have to call if they won't talk to a third party. So definitely those are links for you as well. Okay, so planning. Who's in the room when you're planning your year-long college season? Okay, that's just a hypothetical question. Who's in the room? And this meeting has to take place either before school starts or right when school starts. And we know counselors are busy with registration and you're busy with your class schedules and students are wanting to switch schedules. You have students that are becoming inactive or no shows. And so there's a lot of work that counselors are doing. But if you plan early, this takes kind of the burden off of the counseling team. The senior English, government, and econ teachers are involved. ASB has to be involved, all administrators. You have guidance techs at your school site. The College and Career Center should be the central heartbeat of the school when it comes to the college season. And any program coordinators. You have AVID, Puente, IB. You have those students, you get those coordinators involved, they could definitely help tackle a group of students that you work with, and any outside partners such as CalSOAP. We are definitely here to support the work. You may have some other outside partners as well. So definitely it takes a team. It's a staff, the entire staff is involved. You have district office personnel, county office, outside organizations, and the other members that I previously talked about who were in attendance in those meetings. So you have to find your FOPs, your friend of the program, and try to get them included in this process. And then what does your calendar look like? Have you prepared a calendar? What are logistics going to look like for the different events? And so with logistics, events, how are you funding it? And I just got a question in the chat. How do you utilize support from CalSOAP and partner with districts? So most of our contracts are written where we have consortium members, but definitely if you want to talk resources, we could definitely talk about that afterwards in the different regions if you want to reach out to your CalSOAP directors, because we provide support for a lot of our non-partner districts. We could definitely provide that, but our contracts are kind of the consortium members. But yeah, let's talk about that after the presentation. Definitely, we can touch base. And then with the events, college kickoff, make the events fun. With the events, you definitely want to have college kickoff. It's not just one day, it's college kickoff week. What events are you doing for the week? Working with ASB and your school and your admin and your organizations, make it an event. Workshops should be fun, engaging, and we'll talk about that later. Classroom visits with senior classes. Definitely you want to do the presentation. Why not walk in there and have the entire class, if they haven't done so already, do their FSIDs together, step by step, walking through as a team. Meeting with students, it could be individual one-on-one, it could be group. And then deadlines. Make sure the deadlines, you are blasting those deadlines out there. Celebrations, you want to have a huge celebration, clean up with errors, and then matching of students as well. So definitely going through that. Here's some documents. When you get access to this PowerPoint, it will be in Sketch. You can click on the different links. They will take you to different things like web grants access. Okay, I'm going to ask you to put in the chat right now. Who has admin access? Okay, let me rephrase. Do you know at your school site the 2 people that have admin access for web grants? Just put yes or no in the chat. Okay, now I'm going to rephrase that question. Put yes or no. Are you the person that has access to web grants? Okay, great. That's what I thought. And so, oh, you're not. Okay, but you do know who has it. Great. Okay, great. So if you don't have access, you definitely need to know who has it. If you don't know so already, FSAID information. How are students keeping track of that information? That's like the $1 million question right there. Are you doing a Google Doc assignment? You want to make sure it's safe and secure for the students. You don't want to take a picture on the phone because that's sensitive information. You don't want them to forget the password or the parent to forget it. Now, one thing that we're finding a lot is older siblings might have done the FSAID information for their parent, and the parent just forgot. And so finding that information, SMORE, Canva, web grants for students. Are students doing a web grants for students login and creating an account after they do their FAFSA? They should be, so they can track their application status. And in financial aid programs, then there's a bunch of resources from CSAC. We have CalSOAP contacts page with Sonia shared earlier, our different locations. Now I'm going to ask you this. Is there a website or a resource that you use that you wouldn't mind putting in the chat right now so everybody can steal those websites and resources? Just one. So if you have one go-to website or resource that you can put in the chat right now so people can go through and cut and paste that onto a Google Doc, can you please put that in the chat now? One website or resource that is your daily go-to. Please put that in the chat now. You can definitely think I'm going to continue with the presentation, but any resource that you have, put in the chat. Okay, who's your team? Okay, site support. Admin has to be involved. Okay, counselors, guidance techs, registrars, teachers, ASB, classified staff, college success coaches. It takes a team. It can't fall on one group or one person. Okay, district support. Is your district supporting your college kickoff efforts? Are they dialing for dollars? My former district, we had all directors, administrators, assistant principals, everybody come together at one central location, and we called all the students had yet to fill out a financial aid application, and we did that in January. Okay. What reports are you using? Do you have Power BI reports access? Not just the web grants, are you utilizing the dashboards? What are you utilizing? And then is your district sending you to conferences? Or are you doing the summit just like this one? Are you watching presentations or getting presentations from other people and sharing those? Professional development, county support. Riverside County is definitely very supportive. You know, Catalina Cifuentes, our executive director for the College and Career Readiness Unit at RCWE, is very supportive of all of our 23 districts in Riverside County. And I know our other CalSOAP members are as well with Sonia and Linda. And then the state support from CSAC. Okay, are you communicating with CSAC? They're definitely there to help you. It may take a little while to get their information. And then CCGI accounts and FSAID schedules. Okay, California colleges, are you able to know which students have access to their CCGI accounts? Because in their My Plan, they have an academic plan or a college plan, career plan, financial aid. The financial aid plan has been updated where they have presentations and modules that the students can click on and get more information, goals, the My Journal, the experiences and the documents. And then with the FSAIDs, creating FSAIDs in those senior classes, group meetings and one-on-one meetings. You got to hit it from all sides, okay? College and career centers. If you have a college and career center, okay, definitely you know it's the heartbeat of it. Some people call it a future center, college and career center, but college reps doing college fairs, presentations, outside agencies, coming in, student meetings, one-on-one, classroom visits, group sessions, appointments, workshops, college applications, financial aid, NCAA requirements with athletics, four-year institutions, two-year trade school, military. It's all post-secondary plans. It should be your message. We always say college, college, college. But what about the students that are going in the military or they want to do a CTE, career and technical education pathway? Okay, and then your reports, your student information systems. Are you running queries? Are you keeping track of students that are meeting these different indicators, utilizing web grants and CCGI reports as well? So just some visuals, college and career centers. Okay, so you can see some of our coaches. This is one of our coaches here on the left, our different schools that we work at. You can see students working. This was mass mandated. And then you can see some schools got creative and started using lunch tables right outside of their counseling offices to do their college and career centers and meet with students. So you can see what the different coaches, our college success coaches are doing, our counseling offices are doing. But you can see the different locations. You could have a one-on-one meeting or a small group working with students. You could be preparing for meetings. And then web grants, okay? Web grants allows high schools, they can upload student GPA files. Everybody does that in October to see who's Cal Grant eligible. Who's completing this task? Is it the school site or the district? Okay, and how early are you doing that? Some schools are doing it too early because they're doing it before school started. And what's happening is they're moving to a different school, but that school uploaded their GPA. Now they're the first GPA that's uploaded is who they're going to report to when they do the financial aid application. So definitely you can search on there. You can access and download commission policy emails and memos. Your Cal Grant awardees and other reports anytime. Who's monitoring these reports and how often? And then verify your student high school graduation date. Make sure the date is the accurate date, because if you upload it incorrectly, then no students will be showing up that they're matching. Seen this a couple of times. Okay, who has access at your site? So 2 members at the site can have administrative access. Okay, I know I asked if you knew who had access. Type in the title of who have access. This will give other members in our presentation right now who has admin access at your school site or district. Okay, for me, it was a registrar and assistant principal. Admin, head counselor, okay. Anybody else? Okay, AP and head counselor, me and counselor, okay. And then the thing that's great about web grants is all other members can have user access. So they can have user access, they just won't be able to download the reports. They can still be able to see everything. But as you go through, you definitely want to know who has user access. And then you want to transform those web grants reports to Google Sheets or Excel documents that are more user-friendly so that you're able to track individual student data one by one. Okay, I see a lot of head counselor. Okay, great. Admin is a revolving door right now. So definitely having somebody who's going to be there for a while. Counselors rarely switch site. It does happen. So with the web grants for students, a student can create a web grant for student account after they do their financial aid. It doesn't have to be by October 1st. Students' GPAs have to be downloaded as a big group by October 1st. So promotion, social media, and information. Okay, so you want to promote your program, your whole system. How are you promoting that? Daily with daily announcements, emails to staff. You can do a small newsletter, auto dialers. I know everybody's being inundated with those auto phone calls. So you want to be more strategic. There can be contests, college door contests, government econ, whichever class has all students finished by period. So first period, Mr. Smith's government class, all of them finish their financial aid or application, they get the big prize. Could be a pizza party, could be something, and you get a second and third place. So Mr. Smith, third, fifth period could win as well, unless somebody wants to dethrone them. And so make it a contest. Flyers, paper flyers, peach jar, campus, staff, social media. So with social media, definitely if you have not updated your social media, you can definitely do that. I'm going to throw some social media that we utilize for our program into the chat, just so you can see. Definitely social media, Instagram, and Twitter. You definitely want to do that. And have you updated your website? So as we go through, I'm putting our website in there for Riverside County Cal Soap. Just take a look, definitely update it. We just launched our website 2 weeks ago. And so we want to make sure everything was updated. Phone banking is your organization, districts, and site. What website, update it, make sure the links are there. And then Google Classroom. A lot of schools are utilizing Google Classroom by grade level and making sure that they're promoting different things on there for that as well. Here's just a couple of pictures. What's your schedule look like for students? Are you giving t-shirts? I know Rancho Verde, when they got their award yesterday, they were talking about Castella and the students get shirts. Definitely students want to rep the accomplishments they've had. College and Career Centers, are they posting it outside there for different FAFSA Fridays, or they have California Dream Act days? Definitely we wanted financial aid both, so I like to use financial aid term. But what should your college season looks like? College kickoff day, promote college applications, financial aid, military, CT pathways, post-secondary planning. And then you need to have a calendar for your college season. July, August, September. September was us getting all of our CCGI accounts updated before the October launch, working with FSAIDs, making sure students knew what information they had to have when the October 1st launch came. And now that the college applications were moved up sooner to October 1st instead of November 1st, definitely you can do both of them at the exact same time. And then just making sure each month, what events do you have? What workshops, what celebrations, what different areas of focus are you going to do for each month during your college season? Here's just a couple examples. One of our consortium members shared these with us. So definitely wanted to just put that on there. What does your month of October look like? What does January look like? And this could be a small group. It doesn't have to be the whole organization, but it's a small group that is focusing on one common goal, trying to make sure that everything is done. Workshops could be late starts, after school, evening, Saturday sessions. It could be virtually or in person. Definitely I put in here, we have Cash for College workshops with CSAC. So definitely if your school wants to host a Cash for College workshop, click on the link right there and it will take you right there where you can see for different Cash for College, you can sign up to host one. But I just want to give you an idea. This was pre-pandemic. So things might have to be altered a little bit, but one of the biggest reasons students and parents don't go to like a Saturday workshop is they're talking about, well, it's after school, we have dinner, we have younger siblings, okay? Break it up, make it an event, have grades K through 6 in a large room because we want social distancing. ASB students could help out, or you have a group organization on campus, you have teacher volunteers, definitely do that. Grades 7 through 11, they could do different activities, a college scavenger hunt, scholarships, you have ASB providing food for them, and it's a family event like back to school night or something like that. And then grade through 12, you're doing FAFSA California Dream apps, outside agencies are helping, college apps, scholarships, different thing that you are working on. And then incentives, okay, be creative. Think what will work for your area. No idea is too small. Think outside the box. Make everything an event and make it an experience, and it's fashionable. Make it so students want to participate. It's crazy how students will take a t-shirt and decorate it like crazy. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's how it is. And then with Cal Grants, it's free money. The College Promise Program, first year experiences with the community colleges. The first year or both years of community college can be free if they get included and qualify for the Promise Program or do the first year experience. Institutional aid, work study. A lot of our coaches, we just had a group meet chat where they were like, our students going to this school, go to the institution, see what scholarships are on their webpage. College kickoff events, make it a week long, not just one day. Drawings, okay? Support. Parents really appreciate the support from the staff and willingness to help. Make it an event. Food, shirts, inflatables, extended lunch, games, photo booth. I'll show you what a DJ looks like in there. So you can do free graduation tickets, free prom tickets, free yearbook, free Chromebook, win lunch with your counselor, okay, free TV. Some foundations are donating things to schools and school districts. Free bicycle, mini fridge. What will they take with them when they go to college? Principal's parking spot. They can get it for a week. You don't think students will want to park where the principal normally parks? It's something small, but it doesn't cost you anything. Celebrations. So this was a celebration at one of our consortium members. This is the student who won the free bike. They picked a raffle ticket that they put into which bucket they wanted to, and she won. And there was a bunch of different prizes, so they got to choose which prize they were putting their ticket into, and she won the bike. They had different games. They had food. You can see the food being passed out in the back. And then just advertise it. What are the incentives? Okay. So going through, definitely looking at this. Special ed programs, here's the challenges that we go through with special programs, transfer students, alternative ed, California Dream Act. Here's the dashboard with California Dream Act, hesitation, fear, different things like that. Other schools and districts inputting GPAs too early, follow up. So definitely you could take a look at this slide. How are you tracking your internal data? How do you know the number of students that completed their app, no EFC, started their app, total number of students enrolled? This was from Power BI. That's what we use to track our data. CCGI data tracking. Do you know how many students have their account registered, unregistered, and able to access them? Okay. Our year to year. So we're looking at enrollment submitted completed compared to the following year. And you can see the percentage gain that we keep track of in our program. The leaderboard, looking at the leaderboard, looking at the CSAC Race to Submit dashboard. You can do it by region, by county, by school, by district, and then celebrating. Okay, here's a DG, 99.1 was at one of the schools. Castella has a huge event. Loma Valley with their events. Okay, leading to the deadline. Communicating with parents, meeting, phone calls, emails, get it done. Student tracking, making sure you're down to the final small group. And then after the deadline, you're not done. Okay, look at the web grants reports, run your queries, student aid reports. Okay, correcting errors with SSN numbers, wrong names. It might be a double last name. If they have a no FC, why do they have a no FC? Waiting for a signature page, matching student information, and then mailing student signature pages, students sending those. It takes about 3 weeks, as you know, to process. So doing that. So the promising practice is definitely want to support. How are you contact with families? How do you celebrate? What are your connections with your college partners and your CBOs? And how are you tracking what you're doing? Definitely, I'll let you read these slides, so I'm not reading them verbatim. And then recommendations. Funding to support CalSOAP's response of modernization of AB 469, guidance of implementation. That's what we're here for with this summit. Financial aid training for CalSOAP staff, financial aid completion campaign, blanket application deadline, early, timely, consistent communication, work with federal student aid to address FAFSA glitches, timely web grants, real-time financial aid, and race to submit. So involving our community stakeholders, I'm going to pass it over to Linda Dow.
Thank you, Matthew. First of all, next slide. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about the idea that AB 469 puts the onus on schools to be the responsible bodies for making sure that students complete their FAFSA or their CADA. However, we know that schools can only do so much. We have to look at where students live, where they socialize, where their parents work, where they shop, and where they eat. And we're finding out that in order to do this whole financial aid process, it's going to take a village to raise a child, right? And it also takes a whole agency to make a successful campaign. That means schools cannot be the only agency out there that is responsible for financial aid. Next. I see it as a four. I like baseball, so I see it as a four-pronged approach. You have your students; they have to be willing to do this. We have the parents or the families that have to complete the FAFSA. We have the schools that Matthew so eloquently this morning talked about all the great things that can happen. But I'm going to talk about the education and community stakeholders that have a responsibility in this process. I always say there's 6 ways to boost student FAFSA completion. First of all, it goes beyond schools. Schools, if you're a counselor, you know what I'm talking about. You got so many other, besides financial aid, you've got about 50 other things that you're responsible for. So it's about training a pool of volunteers to offer the one-to-one help. It's not going to come. It's not going to come all from the schools, that we must engage communities. We also talk about who's going to talk about the amount of monies that are out there, I would say. If the schools are the only ones that are talking about it, it's not going anywhere. So we found out that it's got to be a community approach to this. We also talking about a campaign. The campaign, we've got to educate our community about the myths and the fears that parents have, and have them become our advocate. It's about engaging those community partners, which I'll give you a list of pretty soon. It's about enlisting student groups and peer groups, but it also, you go where the parents are, the families are, because at the end of the day, everybody, it's like the old adage, everybody teaches reading, well, everybody's responsible for the completion of financial aid. Next. I talk about the idea of a shared ownership. And for us, the community is empowered along with schools. This is a shared ownership that we increase the number of students that is completing financial aid. We got to be smart. We've got to be able to share data with people to make sure that they understand. A lot of our parents are thinking, well, all the kids are filling it out, they're going to college. That's not true. It's the chase afterward that is slowing us down. We've got to learn to spread awareness. You know, you can put it on the back of a bus, but it's so much more effective when you have groups or people in place who are your advocates. You know who they are. You also have to set goals. You have to create those incentives. And you have to go about establishing some very smart partnerships that can help you with the PR, or they can give you space, or they can give you some more volunteer bodies, or they can give you just workshops, you know, getting the word out. Our problem, the schools, yes, our kids go to schools, but the families sometimes don't go to school. Some parents are afraid of school. So we've got to be able to reach out with whatever resources that are in our communities to figure out what's going on. These are what I call some community and educational groups. This is what I use in San Diego and Imperial County. And I'm going to be honest. You have to start, first of all, you got to start early. You got to start with a strategic plan. You've got to figure out who in my community can I have or ask to be my ally. That starts in the spring of every year. You don't wait till we're in the financial aid season. And then you have people talking about, I want to help you with financial aid. I want people who are committed. I want people whose mindset is that they are out about students 110%. It's not about what they're going to get out of it. It's what's going to be benefits to our kids. So I looked at the Urban League, NAACP, Peaky. I look at my libraries. That's probably the most untapped. The libraries are crying for high school students to come in there. So in San Diego, at selective libraries, we have we call them financial aid centers. It makes a difference. Boys and girls clubs, trio programs. Many of the schools have outreach programs that are sitting in there. And we're finding out that they do their thing, but they're not really part of the financial aid. And who's holding these people accountable? Because they've already taken a subset of your students and they said we're going to work with those students intensively, right? If you're going to take our students in San Diego, you now become accountable because we're going to ask you, show me the data that all your students have completed the FAFSA or the CADA. We also work with parent engagement. We also working with ELAC, other programs that are parent-driven programs. Next. We also look at higher ed. I don't think people think that higher ed is more than willing. They've got financial aid offices, even at the community college level, that can help you to bring additional bodies, additional resources. We also talk about post-secondary volunteers from the post-secondary area. We've got programs where students want to volunteer, they want to help. We also look at the fraternities and sororities in our areas. Some of the fraternities, I know the AKAs, for example, that is one of their goals, is that they are to work with financial aid. And then we also look at our politicians. Our politicians, I tell them one thing, to say you're for it. It's another thing to get in the dirt with us and help these students. So they have workshops. They send out PR. They do different things for us. Churches is often, many of our students may or may not go to churches, but I'm gonna tell you something. These churches have youth groups, and reminding them, we've actually hosted a summit just for youth, and we talked about financial aid and what they can be doing and where the resources are and can you host. Those are the kind of things that you have to think about. And finally, foundations. We have the San Diego Foundation. Everyone's really interested in, our students are not pursuing college the way we want them to. So everybody's on tap in San Diego to do that. Next. How do you prepare community stakeholders? Next. I talk about developing a strategic plan. The partnership starts in the spring. I got to look at people's mission, their vision, their goals. How are we sharing metrics, data? The schools get the data about how well the school's doing, but as a community, I'm not understanding that we're not doing as well as we should be doing. Activities. Who's going to host your Cash for Colleges? Who can help you support and bring bodies to Cash for Colleges? How do you get the training, right? And then you look at the school support and well, we're at schools and maybe the higher ed can't help you. Can I get volunteers from the community to help me with it when schools are open? And they also provide financial aid training. We've got to definitely, if you're going to talk about working with community people, definitely provide financial aid training. Next. Developing that PR format. The best people to put your PR are your community groups. You can send bulletins home, you can send things home, but at the end of the day, the community group is going to be your best ally in terms of financial aid and public relations. Ultimately, they also deal with the multi-ethnic communities. And they translate things for in their languages. They're the ones that's talking in the mosque. They're the ones that are helping us to get the word out. And we meet on a regular basis. We talk about shared vision, we review the data, and we analyze the data. Where should we be shifting our focus is what we're often saying. When the school's doing well, we move on. Here's your financial aid resources. Those are some INCAN, CSAC, the NASFA, and the WASA. All those groups are very good with the resources. And with that, we're going to go to Q&A.
All right, do we have any questions? You could definitely unmute yourself or put it in the chat. I know we ran a little bit over, so definitely appreciate you sticking with us. Anybody like to unmute yourselves? And if you don't, you could definitely reach out to us. Definitely our contact information. You can go on the CSAC website, the different locations for CalSoap. Our websites are there, our numbers are there, our emails are there. So definitely looks like we got one person has their hand raised. Okay,
Just giving you guys kudos, Matthew.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
I said I was just giving you all kudos for a great presentation and a lot of valuable information.
Definitely, we're here to support. CalSoap is in 16 different areas across the state. So definitely thank you, Sonia and Linda, for sharing your expertise with all of our participants this morning. Please know that all presentation materials will be available on the Schedule event platform. The recordings will be posted on the CSAC event webpage by tomorrow. We also welcome you to use the Schedule to provide feedback. We definitely want feedback so we can continue to improve our presentation practices, so we can continue to provide you with the support you need to implement the upcoming application completion requirements. Thank you so much for attending our session for the 3rd Annual California College Affordability Summit. We hope to see you again next time. I am going to stop recording.